Hello, everybody. Thank you very much to have joined this meeting, this first inaugural meeting of the damage assessment technical subcommittee of practice of the Global Shelter Cluster. Please, if you have any question, just add it on the chat. Someone from the committee will follow and will try to answer or at the end of the meeting. Also, during the plenary discussion, because that's the main objective, is to give the floor to everybody to share your expectation from damage assessment topics and your comment and suggestion. So it will be during 25 minutes. So there will have also easy retro that some people can also add the comments. It will be, we will have 25 minutes for the open floor discussion. Let me pass to the agenda of the meeting. So the main objective of this meeting is to do the introduction of the technical subcommittee of practice for the assessment and also introduce the committee. We will present the term of reference of the committee of practice. We will share the topic survey results. So thank you very much for the people who have the chance to complete the survey. They will have also the possibility also to complete the survey after this meeting to have more data for us to do our work. They will have the plenary discussion, as I have explained. So for question and answer, correct your suggestions, comment, some feedback from the survey results. If you have any additional topics concerning damage assessment that you will be interested in expectation. Then we will just finish the meeting to share with you the next steps, and then any other business to conclude the meeting. Let me just start to introduce the committee of the damage assessment technical committee of practice. So I'm Pascal Panosetti. I'm the global focal point for shelter coordination for the global shelter cluster. So mainly to support all active and non-active shelter cluster in country. As you know, it will be reduced due to the cutting and the humanitarian reset. I'm a shelter expert. I'm an architect, and I've been 10 years in the field before having this position. I pass the floor to the next person, to Arnold. Over to you.
Thank you, Pascal, and greetings, everyone. It's nice to meet all of you. My name is Arnold Jobu. I'm currently an Information Management Officer with the United Nations Development Program. I'm based in Nairobi, Kenya, and very excited to be part of this community of practice, to learn from you, to share with each other, to exchange knowledge and resources, and to hopefully succeed in whatever objectives we have. Thank you, and over to Regina.
Regina? Okay, so let's pass to the next, maybe Mamuni. Mamuni is in Ethiopia, so maybe yes, some.
I'm here now, sorry. I had problems with my computer.
Yeah.
So I'm
No
Regina
problem.
Link. I'm a structural engineer from the Swiss Rescue Chain. I'm a civil engineer and I'm working in a town. And I had some real missions after earthquakes. And yes, so I'm here and very interested to share with you the knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you, Regina. Mamuni, if you are here. Over to you, Chatu.
Thank you, Pascal. Hello, everyone. My name is Chatu Jayakodi. I'm a senior lecturer at Birmingham City University. So my expertise is from urban planning and urban design side. And my research expertise is particularly on built environment professionals' role in displacement and resettlement planning. So it's happy to be in the co-chair committee. And this time I would like to invite, pop any of your comments or questions on the chat box. I will manage that. Thank you.
Thank you, Iba. Thank you, Chatu. Over to Iba.
Hello, I'm also a lecturer in construction architectural technology at BCU. Me and Chatu are colleagues. My background is architecture, so I have an architectural degree, and my research expertise or my PhD in future research falls under post-conflict housing reconstruction, specifically in the Middle East. Yeah, that's me.
Thank you very much, Iba. We have also in the committee William and Noor from Radar UK, but they cannot attend for this meeting. Coming back for a short introduction of damage assessment. So as you know, there is the technical community of practice has been launched in October, but let's say starting to be active in April when we found some partners to find the time and volunteering base to coordinate each of the theme. So as you can see, we have various themes: good construction practice and build back better, who has been merged with durable permanent and shelter and housing. We have emergency temporary shelter, technical specification was merged also with NFI and essential household item technical specification. We have the greener shelter, and we have the fire safety. For the good construction practice, it's also very linked to another committee of practice, the recovery committee of practice. And the greener shelter is very linked also to the environmental committee of practice. And that is the damage assessment. We have no linked to other existing committee of practice, because the goal of the technical community of practice is not to duplicate other efforts in the other committee of practice. We have now already 32 co-chairs from the groups, from various organizations, NGO, the Red Cross movement, the S-TCoP and NGO, private sector, and also academia. Small reminder, we have the two most important page for the technical community of practice. So is the technical community of practice page. We are using it mainly to publish all the recording of the meeting. Thank you. Sorry, I forget to inform you that we are recording this meeting to share with the broader community. So we are publishing on the page the recording of the meeting and then the PowerPoint presentation. And we use this page also to create the events and news. When you register it to the page, you will receive automatic update. As you can see on the left, that is all the 7, 8 thematic. We can have more thematic in technical, so sometimes we are adding new, like hosting assistance has been added. The other page, which is very linked to the technical community of practice, is all the resources. So all the resources will not be published on the technical COP page, but on the technical toolkit. And as you can see on the left, there are also the thematics. And you can see already, we have already some resources concerning damage assessment. And we need also the support of all the community to improve this page and share other tools and resources to the broader shelter practitioner. I'm passing over to Iba to present the term of reference. Over to you.
All right, thank you, Pascal. So I'm going to start presenting the terms of reference that we have. There's a link on this website, on the PowerPoint, and further on, you could see it at the end as well. You could find the actual terms of reference as a whole in the PDF format on our website. Moving forward. So the background of our damage assessment community and practice is that we are a voluntary community. We focus on technical aspects of shelter and settlements programming with emphasis on damage assessment. We are open to all individuals regardless of agency or organizational affiliation. The group member participation. We are a group of 8, I presume so, and a bit more, and that we're all equally active. We are all co-chairs, more or less, and it's a collaborative community where we share information together and other related data and knowledge regarding damage assessment. So the member contributes, as I said, to knowledge and experience from relevant roles and subject areas. So what's interesting about our team is that we have people who are experts, engineers, and also we have, as me and Shatu, we are both academics, so we all feed into this community and practice. Our critical role is that we know that damage assessment is an essential in humanitarian shelter and settlements after crisis. So the purpose is to provide accurate, timely data on destruction to guide priorities and resource allocation. Our value is to inform planning and implementation of shelter solutions, as damage assessment is one of the critical stages in reconstruction specifically. The impact, we addressed immediate needs while supporting long-term recovery and resilience. So it applies to both umbrellas, more or less. So we involve local experts to ensure context-appropriate methods and sustainable responses. And as you can see in our team, we come from diverse range of ethnic backgrounds, experts, and knowledge. So our objective is to, and scope, so we collaborate, it's a collaborative platform, in other words, to share knowledge, resources, and technical support. And this is in terms of shelter and settlement programs. We connect individuals, private sector, academia, donors, international NGOs, local NGOs, and agencies to exchange experience and collaboration. We promote accurate and efficient damage assessment methodologies to ensure effective, sustainable humanitarian responses. We have a couple of topics or objectives that we tend to focus on. We are open to other related subjects within damage assessment, but our key are: one, provide guidance and damage assessment methodologies across different contexts, such as flood, earthquake, or conflict. We try to strengthen our technical capacity. We promote collaboration and coordination in damage assessments. We collect, develop, and share tools and resources through the GSC Technical Toolkit. We advocate for context-specific approaches. We facilitate information sharing, and we support country-level shelter cluster response in developing and reviewing damage and shelter needs assessments upon request. So how do we participate in membership responsibilities? So active members contribute to the thematic presentations and subgroups. As we can see today, this is our inaugural meeting, and hopefully we'll be having more webinars regarding this subject. We will share experiences and resources, tools, documents, designs, publications, funds, research applications, etc. We engage actively in meetings, webinars, and discussions. And as a committee chair and co-chair responsibilities, which is the key element of our community and practice, is that we're all responsible together. We all chair and co-chair together. So we lead bi-weekly meetings to define topics, terms of references, and work plans. We facilitate and co-organize meetings and webinars, which are coming in the next couple of months. We review, validate, and endorse shared resources. So if you to join the technical co-op and to find our information and our publications, our webinars, you want to please create a GCSC account. This is far better than your personal accounts on the following link. Follow the left-hand side of the technical community of the practice webpage, and on the left side as well, you'll find the technical toolkit webpage to receive resource updates. This will be updated on a monthly by monthly basis based on the information we gather from our group. So yeah, I'll hand it over to any questions first before we move on to Arnold. Yes, Pascal?
Now, maybe I would just like to add, just to specify, one of the tasks was written, develop guidance. So the goal of our group is we can share, to the broader community existing guidance it's why we're trying to collect from the members. But in case we need to develop a new guidance, so we will have to follow the usual process, so developing a specific term of reference, and it has to be endorsed by the strategic advisory group of the Global Shelter Cluster. So it will become a working group and not a community of practice. So it was just to share this information. Over to you if there is another question. Otherwise, we'll pass to the next. Thank you very much.
I'm not seeing any hands up or a question per se. So if it's okay, I'll go ahead and present some results from a survey that we sent out to the whole community of practice. The objective was to collect your thoughts and your ideas on which kind of themes would be relevant for this community of practice in order to shape our future discussions, our future webinars, and our future interactions. And a huge thanks to the 65 colleagues who shared their valuable feedback, because the results from the survey are going to give us a very clear picture of the community's collective priorities. And your input directly highlights a strong shared focus on building the foundational and technical elements of damage assessment. Now, during the assessment, we had the first question that was asking you to select the top 5 out of the 7 main sort of topics that we had identified that might be a priority for this community of practice. And from these 7, there was a clear tie for the #1 spot of the top priorities. And this was on assessment methodologies and classification standards, with 75% of you selecting them. And this sends a powerful message that the community is eager to establish a consistent, a harmonized, and standardized approach as our top priority. Then coming in second, we had capacity building and training. And this was a major area of interest for 68% of the respondents. And I think this is a natural and a crucial follow-up to the top priorities. It shows that once we have the standards and the methods being defined, then the next step would be to ensure that everyone has the knowledge and the skills to apply these methods effectively. Now, following this, a significant cluster of topics, each with 54% interest, shows a focus on now the practical and the technological aspects of the assessment process. And these include the application of assessment results. It includes technology for data collection and mapping, and also data management and reporting. And I think this again highlights the importance of the entire assessment lifecycle, from how we gather data in the field to how we use the final analysis for decision making. Then finally, coordination and stakeholder engagement was identified as a topic of interest by 31% of the respondents. And while it is still important for almost 1 out of every, or 1/3 of the community, it's noticeably lower priority compared to the more technical and the methodological topics. And this overall is useful insight that can help us to balance our future activities. Now, in addition to collecting these major topics of interest, we also queried you to provide more insight as to what exactly among these topics you'd like to listen or you'd like to us to dive deeper into. And when we look at these responses on the subtopics, we get a more precise roadmap of where we can focus our collective efforts. And the main story is clear, just from these results, if you look at it on a snapshot, that respondents or that the community wants to build a strong foundation of the practical guidelines and the common standards before now we dive into the other areas. And all these subtopics you can see are more aligned with how you answered on the main topics of interest. Now, focusing just on the top 10 subtopics of interest, the results become striking, because the #1 subtopic with 69% interest is the development of guidelines, of templates, and of standard operating procedures for consistent use. This, along with a strong interest in rapid and detailed assessments at 62% response rate and structural versus non-structural assessments, shows that there's an overwhelming demand for practical how-to sort of guidance. As you can see from the blue bars here, these top priorities mostly fall under the main category of assessment methodologies. Now, working in tandem with methodologies, there is also a clear, huge appetite for creating a shared understanding across the sector. your interest in common terminology categories at 54%, and alignment with international and national frameworks at 52% were also noted as top concerns. And I think this also highlights the critical need to ensure that we are all speaking the same language whenever we are conducting assessments. Your feedback also showed a very practical approach to capacity building and technology. Now, for training, the most popular training topic was identified as integrating guidelines and standards directly into training modules at 48%. And I think this meant that you don't just want the documents to be availed. You want hands-on training on how you can be able to use these documents. Then for technology, which might not be here but was on the previous slide, the focus was on modern tools like remote sensing, like drone-based surveys. But there was a clear, as this one seen as important supporting tools rather than the foundational starting point that was of most interest for most community members. Now, this detailed feedback on the subtopics confirmed the story from the high-level results, that the community's primary goal is first to establish what to do, and these are the standards. And once we have established what to do, the next thing is how to do it, which are the methodologies. And once we have this solid foundation in place, then the focus can expand more deeply into the training, into the technology, and into the coordination. And this level of detail is going to be immensely helpful as we continue to brainstorm on how to tailor future activities to be able to meet these specific identified needs. Now, apart from asking you during the survey about the topics and the subtopics that you wanted to learn about, we also had an open-ended question that was asking you on the expectations from this community of practice. And after analyzing these responses using natural language processing, we had 5 primary themes that were emerging. The most significant expectation that was mentioned in nearly half of all the responses revolved around the need for standardized guidance, tools, and methodologies. This involved respondents mentioning the need for harmonized standards, clear guidance notes, common methodologies, and practical field-ready tools. And these field-ready tools, they were mentioned as software, as artificial intelligence, and as drones. And the whole objective in general for the standardized guidance and tools was to avoid having to start from scratch after every new crisis. Now, coming in second among your expectations was knowledge sharing and learning. And it was expressed a strong desire to learn from the experience of other practitioners, to share best practices, and gain deeper technical knowledge. You clearly expressed a want to hear about the challenges and the successes from the different contexts that the community is operating within. Now, the third thing was on collaboration and interoperability. We had several responses that were focused on the community's role in fostering collaboration, moving from isolated efforts to more interoperable systems, where the data and the frameworks are aligned across organizations to be able to improve coordination and to speak to each other. Then coming in fourth, we had practical application and case studies, where you expressed a need for learning that is grounded in reality, calling for case study presentations, discussion on real-life problems, and context-specific advice. And this context-specific advice, we had some examples like conflict zones in Gaza and specific countries like Burkina Faso. Now, all this being said, there are also some skepticism and critique, but from very few respondents, where a small number of you expressed a more critical view, questioning the role and the capacity of some of the organizations in conducting accurate damage assessments. Now, moving away from the expectations, we also had another open-ended question that was asking you whether you have any comments, any questions, or any suggestions concerning this community of practice. And again, this was an open-ended question. So once we started analyzing this data, the feedback revealed that you are highly engaged because it was very positive, and you provided very actionable suggestions for the community of practice. The primary recommendations are focused on the need for greater clarity in assessment goals. We also had something on enhanced knowledge sharing platforms, something on specific training opportunities, and something on broader collaboration. And we'll look at each of these in detail. So starting with your want or the suggestion that you are calling us to be very clear about the specific purpose and target audience of damage assessments. It was expressed that there's a need to or a distinction between the different types of assessments. And some examples of these types of assessments were given as immediate risk and habitability assessments. We had something on forensic assessments to understand structural failures. And another example that was given was assessments for permanent and funded reconstruction. And furthermore, there was also a need to clarify who the assessment tools are designed for. Are these assessment tools being designed for the general public? Are they being designed for aid workers, or are they being designed for specialists? The next comment and suggestion was on enhancing knowledge sharing and resources. And a recurring theme was the desire for a centralized and accessible way to share information. And I think Pascal will be speaking more on this and how we have the resource hub for the shelter cluster. Now here, some of the things you suggested were creating a knowledge hub, which I think already is there, which is a central repository for resources, for methodologies, and for documents related to damage assessments. Something else that you expressed interest on was recording sessions. So for sessions such as this, to make the recordings of these meetings and these webinars available for those who cannot attend them in live. And then there was also something on creating a discussion space, either online forum or platform for ongoing conversation and question, which I think was very brilliant. And then something on sharing a methodology. So one respondent even offered to share a complete package of assessment forms and training modules developed in their specific country context. But again, in other questions where we asked you for your interest in sharing resources, sharing materials, in facilitating this kind of webinars, the responses were overwhelmingly positive. The third overarching comments and suggestion was on providing training and capacity building. And here there was a clear demand for structured learning and development opportunities. And the specific suggestions are the ones that you're seeing there. There was something on organizing trainings, which are regular trainings for participating members of the community of practice. Also, another suggestion was case-based webinars. So webinars that are focused on real-world case scenarios, especially from complex environments like what we are seeing now in Gaza, where things like remote sensing, things like GIS, artificial intelligence, and all these innovative approaches come into play. Then the final theme was on fostering collaboration and engagement, where you talked about strengthening the network, our network or our community of practice, and involving a wider range of experts. And here the specific suggestions that were given included having regular meetings, for example, holding quarterly meetings to share experiences and to share coordination. Something else was on joint field assessments. I don't know how practical this is going to be, where it was suggested to organize in-person joint assessments in various contexts so that community members can be able to exchange and learn from one another. We also had some other suggestions in this regard, for example, involving private sector experts, where we can be able to include specialists, for example, seismic engineers, to be able to bring in external expertise. And then finally, we had offers of partnership, where some of you again offered your organization's capacity on previous project proposals so that we can be able to review them and be able to collaborate on that. So as I end, yeah, I mean, The responses were overall very positive. We had some of you offering words of encouragement and appreciation for the initiative. And if I can just paraphrase not paraphrase, but saying verbatim what some of you said, you were saying that very happy that this community exists. And somebody also said that they are super thankful and grateful for this initiative. So this is what we had in terms of the survey. If there are any questions, the floor is open. Otherwise, I might hand it over back to Pascal to go to the next session on the plenary discussion.
I will give 1 minute if there is some question. Please, colleagues, if you can check also the chat or the hands up. Maybe I will just come back to the previous one, just to give complementary information. We can see, okay, the expectation was defined scope and clarity. So I hope, okay, we have a question from Tom. Let me just finish, Tom, I pass over to you. Just finish on this 4 point. Define scope and clarity. So we have shared with you the term of reference. Please have a look also on the website. And if it's more clear also the scope and clarity. And again, we are a community of practice, so we need all of you. So any suggestion also to improve also the term of reference. Thank you very much. And then the knowledge sharing, create a resource hub, as he said, Arnold. So that's the technical toolkit. And record the session. So it's the same. That will be also on the T.Sub-CoP webpage. So the resource on the technical toolkit. Training, capacity building, organized training. So that's we will see. Also, we need also you. So we see also some partners who have developed some training that maybe we could also do a session. I'm not sure that in 1.5 hours you can do a proper training on the image assessment, but maybe sharing the base. Case-based webinar, okay, like a study, and we will have. It's also why we have asked if some of you would like to propose to present some tools and case study. And okay, the regular meeting involve external expert is why it's open to everybody. We have private sector, we have Arab, for instance, also. We have also SDC, but Regina, she's from the private sector. So it was just to complete about the expectation and happy to do better about the expectation of the team. Over to you, Tom. Hello, Tom.
Hello, Pascal Arnold. Many congratulations on this superb initiative, bringing together what in a way is the missing half of humanitarian shelter guidance. We have thousands of guidelines, case studies and so forth on disasters, and pretty much nothing, sadly, on conflicts. My question is as follows. When we explored this topic a number of years ago, we really felt as though the basic building physics was lacking. So there are seismic engineers, every other hazard facing humanity in a way has developed a science around it, where we understand the building physics in earthquakes, in floods, in storms, but we don't have the same understanding again for blast and fire. There are blast engineers, there are fire engineers. Their knowledge of what to do after the event isn't necessarily as detailed as for those other hazard mitigations. The question is as follows. It's around have we got any opportunity together to engage with our academic colleagues, our engineering colleagues. This is what happened in the past with those previous hazards. We all got together and put in the basic building physics, which would allow us to develop a severity scale. And until we get something which we can equivalent to the modified Macaulay, it's going to be very difficult to end up creating a multi-hazard environment where, for example, we have a conflict situation in a seismic zone, which sadly is very common. So the question is there an opportunity, or is this part of this initiative? Are we aware of anything where research is ongoing to look at the basic building physics of blast and fire? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tom. I know we have some experts here or so. Okay, wait, great, join. Over to you.
Thank you, Stella. Colleagues, great to be joining you today here from Amman. Just what I would like to see, and I don't know if it's worth considering, is some sort of a case study, real-time case study to look at during the course of some of these technical meetings. I mean, obviously Gaza is very topical at the moment and something very close to my own heart at the moment. But would it be possible to use that as a case study and have one of these technical groups get the expert advice on what we should be looking at and just zoom in a bit on an actual ongoing crisis and just have a discussion around what are the very relevant topics that we need to be aware of as hopefully the next phase of this develops and we have to get stuck into damage assessments. Thank you so much for the initiative, Pascal. Back to you.
Thank you very much, John. And I think that's a good suggestion. And we were thinking that, like the same, there was the, okay, we know Gaza. I think we are all, it's also morally about what's happened. And that's also the goal. That's the technical, the committee of practice, all of us, because we are the committee, we are just few people, but just to coordinate. So we did all the team. And exactly, we can also decide to say, okay, let's focus now to start, for instance, to support Gaza and see with the shelter cluster in Gaza and all the community could support the response. So I'm totally agree with you, John, and that's a decision. And clear, we can make some webinars sharing knowledge, but there is some ongoing response that the committee of practice can support. That's the goal at global. We are the world to try to support the cluster. So thank you very much, John, about that, and we take that into consideration. To answer you, Tom, I know there is other civil engineer. I'm not a civil structural engineer. I think I discussed that also with Devochkins. I think Devochkins is also online. Because I saw this exchange about conflict and blasting in the humanitarian group, and I don't remember with who I have exchanged, if it was Devochkins. And it seems maybe to do the damage assessment of blasting could be similar than other. Just the context is different. The building have been damaged by bomb, but to do the damage assessment, and I will let the structural engineer to answer better, maybe Regina Venk, who is a structural engineer, and if there is other structural engineer now participating in the meeting to answer. So I don't know if I have answer. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Devochkins. Okay. Regina and Dave.
Okay.
Over to you.
I was in a really mission in Beirut after the blast with S-TC. We had a small team and we have done some structural engineering work. We had groups of engineers and local architects and engineers where we had to assess the affected buildings. And when you ask about the difference from the earthquake and from the blast, it's clear. I mean, we don't talk about aftershock and we don't talk about these seismic things. Mostly the structures are hit mostly by, it depends on the structure itself, but mostly old buildings on stone structures, or the frame structure, the filling out was just blow out. But again, it's a different context, but the structural assessment itself, it's the same. But again, we don't have the aftershock, and that is on the way to the positive thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Regina. Over to you, Dave.
Hi, can you hear me okay there?
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, so the very first thing, just to say I'm not a structural engineer. I just want to be clear about that. I just spent half of my career working for structural engineering companies, but that's a different thing in disasters. But yeah, look, and I think that may have come out of a conversation that we'd had, Pascal. In many ways, structural damage is similar, but one of the issues that we're going to have with everything we're doing is that it depends on the building typology. So, for example, when we're in Ukraine and we're looking at construction multi-story apartment buildings, you can have shock waves going through the building and shattering parts of the building that that are very directional because they're struck by a directional missile. And they can be very different to ones where we've got a drone attack or a vertical blast coming down onto the building, which is completely different to the building being shaken by an earthquake. So although in some ways the damage is the same, in some ways the impacts can be different, and depending on a missile sideways is going to shatter that, having the rest of the earthquake is going to do much more universal structural damage. So, and this is coming from working with Miyamoto in the field with engineers whose lifelong career is structural damage in disasters. And this is, from working with them in the field. So not trying to claim I'm the expert on this, but I've spent a lot of time in the field with those people. I guess I wanted to also, if I can, take the opportunity just to raise my concern or question. And that's I think one of the big challenges for all of us right this second is trying to work out what the future of humanitarian response looks like, and how what we do now is relevant to the future and not based on what we did in the past. And my big concern at the moment is that the future of humanitarian response, I think the amount of, we've just gone through Sendai framework and Hyogo framework, and we've told every country in the world that they should build a disaster management agency. And then we told them they should focus on DRR and improving their building codes. And countries throughout the world have gone off and done that. And now they've got their own disaster management laws, so that's true. We went into Sri Lanka or Pakistan or Indonesia or India, and in most of those contexts, if there's foreigners coming in, they want foreigners to come in and support their system under their laws. You can't just walk into Ukraine and do damage assessment unless you're a Ukrainian licensed engineer. And you couldn't do it in Turkey, in the earthquake response in Turkey, and you couldn't do it in Morocco. And, so I think we're seeing two things: much more disaster responses in developed nations, or in nations that are better developed and better legislated than they were, and better regulated than were. And how is what we're going to do going to fit into that? And then the second question, a second sort of thing that we can imagine moving forward is there's just, we all know, a lot less funding. And so those examples where there are failed states or chronic disasters where we're left to be the actor of choice because there is nobody else. What is our role and how much money are we actually going to have? Because mostly we're going to be supporting self-recovery because we don't have the money. Our historical record is that we fix 5%. If we're lucky, we get to 5% of everybody who's homeless. So what are we doing about the other 95%, and how does the work of this committee address that 95% in the limited number of disasters left on the planet where we're a major stakeholder? And then how do we make sure that what we're doing addresses and supports nation states and their capacity to respond? So how do we make sure that the work of this committee is relevant and not moving forward? That was what I wanted to put out there. That was all.
Thank you very much, Dave. Totally right. I don't know if Tom, that's answer also you previous question. Yeah.
Yes, it's fascinating to hear this. I'm just thinking, typing in the background, responding to Dave's invaluable last comments as well. Rather than waiting until we get the building physics sorted out, I would support John's thesis of getting into supporting individual case study countries with what works. But at the same time, in parallel, I would suggest approaching a major donor, the EU Horizon or people like this, able to fund major or more significant consortia involving academia, involving our engineering colleagues. I've been talking to engineers this year, Thomas Tomasetti, others, major people who have been involved in blast damage. I've talked to fire damage engineer experts as well. I do feel as though more attention is needed on this structurally for us to be able to create the maths rather than just traffic lighting a building, so that we can end up editing it. Yeah. So if a big building in the Ukraine is hit, Do we flatten the whole thing? I drove up the Bekaa earlier this year with my driver. It's 21 years in the Lebanese army. He was able to, in munitions, he was able to point out exactly how each building was taken out. But in terms of rebuilding it, they just start again. We cannot afford as a species simply to flatten buildings and start again, to flatten regions and start again. I think we do need to learn how to edit, and we need to learn how to do that in a hurry. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. John?
Yeah,
Over to you, John. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, just to come in on Tom's comment, I really think with focus on environment and circular economy, there's definitely bits of this we need to look at. But if we're saying structural damage 40% is complete reconstruction due to safety, in contexts like Gaza, we will have no choice other than to level and completely rebuild. So again, it's very context specific. Maybe in Ukraine, when we're looking at houses, there might be less than 40% of that, but certainly in the major crises at the moment, most of those buildings, I think, will exceed that kind of 40% structural damage threshold, implying all we can do is rebuild. That's just a thought on that, but I agree with Tom around circular economy. We have to be looking at that for sure.
Thank you, John. Chatu?
Yeah, a lot of interesting discussions. Thank you all for your all inputs. And the focus is on physical damage, which is important. And also from the chat, we just got a comment. What about the social and economic impact that could happen, and how we gonna assess those? So any comments or input on that would be absolutely good.
Any feedback? Yeah. Sobia?
Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for this very timely discussion. And we do know there is a lot of existing tools and existing knowledge that is already here. But from the last point about social and environmental impact, the more we are thinking about society as a whole, about these resilience framework, and I'm coming from a space where I am trying to break silos and pockets. And it is very important that, because when the moment we say technical and structural, we tend to say that this is very specific to a certain kind of category of damage need assessment, the DNAs and the mRNAs. I do realize that there will be complications and challenges, but taking the point from John, when he's saying that let's take a case study, it could be Ukraine, it could be Gaza, and then trying to understand as a whole, society as a whole, where these kinds of implications needs to be mapped and where are the overlaps that we can look into so that we can break out these kind of boundaries and the bubbles that we exist.
Thank you very much, Sobia. Over to you, Bill. Pass over to you, Sobia, after, huh? Bill, over to you. Hi, Bill.
Okay, thanks very much. I just want to go back to what Dave was talking about when he was referring to sort of self-recovery and the crisis in funding and so on, and thinking specifically about Gaza or context similar to Gaza. One of the issues, I think, is that people are living and sheltering in unsafe contexts, in unsafe buildings. It's a sort of fact of life. We're not going to be able to stop that. People will live in these conditions because it's better than the tent or better than whatever they had before. So I think there's another challenge, which is to try and make sure that people are living in these conditions with the knowledge as best as possible that, quite possibly they're living in places which are not safe. So it's some kind of level of assessment or inspection that is then communicated to people to say, I know you have to live here, but it's good that you're aware that it's quite possibly not safe. And also to have a very sort of simple way of assessing a building, which is not going to be done by engineers with equipment and with with advanced techniques, but is going to be very superficial, so that when people are making decisions about whether they should or shouldn't live in certain circumstances, they can do it on the basis of some kind of orientation, and if possible, some kind of ways of mitigating issues. And I think there are also another thing, actually, just to add to that, is that in these circumstances, quite often the dangers are not just structural. There are things like I think particularly for people, the elderly and disabled, the lack of barriers, the lack of walls, windows that are falling from height, all sorts of other issues which are probably more immediate than some structural issues. So anyway, it's a huge challenge, and I think the situation in Gaza really does, it points it up in a way which is quite shocking, really. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. I pass to you, Dave. I totally agree, and it's that when we say, okay, speaking about case study, Gaza, Ukraine, let's discuss how we can already support them. Like I'm totally agree. I was also in contact with Leandro. I think he's also in a meeting when he was in Gaza. To find a way to help the population who are living in unsafe building, as you say, maybe simple criteria that they can check and they know what is the risk, and that could be something we could work on it. And if someone here in this meeting have already some material, please also share it with us, that we could also put in a toolkit, but also sharing directly with the cluster. Thank you very much. Over to you, Dave.
Yeah, look, I completely agree with what Bill and Pascal were just saying. And I think one of the things that I was sort of pushing for and discussing within Miyamoto is that really it's very easy for engineers or for us as building professionals to get distracted by the structure. And when the real issue is the habitability of that structure. And so, I sort of kept saying, ideally, we wouldn't be measuring whether something is light damage, medium damage, or heavy damage, which is the current sort of global tendency, but rather is saying, is something immediately habitable? Like, can you safely live in that building now? Is it rapidly repairable for habitability? Or is it going to take prolonged repairs for habitability? Or is it unrepairable? And not currently not habitable and not repairable. And that's a better framework from a humanitarian perspective to look at buildings. And if we, I guess that's where I was coming to and trying to say, what is our mandate? Where do we want to be? Who are we servicing? What is the future of that, of our role and function? And maybe that's a better way of looking at it. Is what I was sort of getting at. But I very much agree with Bill, and that builds on many of the discussions that the Gaza Technical Working Group on Rapid Assessments, on Damage Assessments, was talking about.
Yeah, thank you very much for your input. And that will be a discussion at the end, is like the frequency of this meeting, because, okay, we were discussing about webinar, presenting some tools, some case study, but again, we can do more than that. So that's, again, the choice of the community. It's all a volunteering base. And that's, please share with us if we want. Okay, I was planning to inform that at the end, but yeah, the idea was to do quarterly webinar, presenting some tools, case study. That was the idea, training, and let's see, we will study now so the feedback of the survey, but also we can have more meetings. So that's no problem. If the community would like, and we don't have to meet all of us, but we can. I can organize this meeting. It can be monthly. It can be really on a need base. So please, if some people are interested, I can also make, maybe after a survey, I will find a way maybe to contact the community and say, okay, the people who would like now, maybe let's a bit focus on Gaza, how we can support Gaza, how we can support Ukraine. So that's really the idea, to see how this community could support it. Don't know if there is another comment. I'm checking the chat. Thank you, Tom. What you have shared on the chat, just for your information, it's also published on a toolkit of the damage assessment. The link of your presentation of the UKSF. I didn't present, sorry, that was my plan, but okay. The principle is to discuss now. There's also the easy retro that you can see on the screen. Maybe you are used to the easy retro. I put also the link of the damage assessment topic survey because it would be good after this meeting if the one who couldn't fill it, if they can do it, you know, to know also who can be engaged in presentation or sharing knowledge. So if you don't know, I will just pass very quickly the easy retro. It's this way, so you will have the choice, additional topics, questions, suggestions, comments. We already have some on the chat that we will keep. And if you are, so yeah, it was just to show you how to add a question, and then you can vote. Also, it will be by priority that we can review at the end of the meeting or prepare for the next meeting. And then you can put comments if someone adds something, and that's just to see if you are using your mobile phone. So I'm coming to the plenary discussion. Okay, we have 15 minutes left. So I don't know if someone want have another suggestion, comment, survey. What do you think about maybe the frequency of the meeting? Should we organize a monthly base, quarterly base? I don't know.
If I can just come in, some of the suggestions that came in from the survey, I noted quarterly meetings were a bit favorable, but if colleagues would like to make it a bit more regular, then yeah, please come in.
I would confirm like a quarterly base would be a good time.
Okay. Any other reaction? Or comment or expectation?
I think some of the suggestions and comments are coming from on a chat as well, rather than recording through retrofeed. But thank you very much for all the comments. We will make a note on these comments and suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you. Still looking if there is more comments. I will just have a look on for the colleagues. Did you have a look on the Easy Retro if there is someone who writes something?
Not that I can see. I just checked retro.
Yeah. Let me. Yeah. Just checking the Easy Retro. No. Okay. So there is no comment.
Easy retro is not so easy, Pascal.
No. Yeah. Yeah. We tried just to add really the goal of this meeting was rate is a change. So it's just in case some people like to add it, and what will be important is really to fill the survey. Okay, I will stop sharing. Let's go back to the presentation. Okay, let me go back. Sorry. Okay, I have to pass. Okay, let me pass that. Sorry. Okay. Okay, maybe we can present the next steps, and then in the conclusion, we have 15 minutes left. Chatu, you would like to present it?
Yeah, let me take the control. Can you see the screen?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you very much for all the comments and suggestions. We are planning to have our next webinar October time. And then after that, December or January time. So we have to select the topics and subtopics to cover, and we got a very important suggestions. We were very much focusing on themes and topics, and suggestions came. We should be focusing on more popular or ongoing case studies as well. So we will keep this in mind. Selecting our thematic areas, subtopics. We have got from the survey some of the overlapping subtopics. So we will group them into thematic areas, as well as we will consider the ongoing case studies as well. Thank you for those suggestions. And also we will collect let me go to the cursor. Why it's not working? Yeah, we'll collect members' interest to present and select those topics. And some of the very important suggestions we received: structural damage, how to be context specific, considering the laws and regulations, and not only the physical damage, but also the consider on social, economic, environmental damage, how to assess these type of very important discussions we will consider, and we would like to consider these suggestions, and then prepare, coordinate, and conduct the webinar, which will be hopefully during October time. And some of the resources, collect tools and resources from the community of practice from the members, and publish those tools and resources on the technical toolkit will happen. And any suggestions from our community of practice members as next steps, which we would like to consider?
Yeah, maybe jumping on that. So okay, so that's the plan to have the webinars. So thank you for the one who already apply and propose. We already received some proposition of presentation and tools. Yeah, maybe if you can come back. Yeah.
So we have extended the survey deadline to 3rd of September. So please do, if you haven't already responded, please do respond to this survey, which is very important for us to take the next steps and when planning the webinar and other meetings. And also there are some important links. Please do visit this technical toolkit, and there are a lot of very useful resources, and we will keep on updating these resources as well. Thank you. Over to you, Pascal.
Okay. Yeah, I was just coming on that. So the webinar, so we already discussed. I'm just chanting, putting on the chat, what's your name? Sorry, I need to share
sorry,
again.
Pascal, it says take the control back. Yeah.
Yeah, I will present again. Okay. Sorry, this jump. I can go to the. Sorry, I cannot jump directly to the last one. Sorry, not super experts on this. Okay, next up, yeah. As I was saying, I just put on the chat, so we can start to quarterly meeting webinars. But as I write on the chat, you know, today we have 45. We have more than 100 people interested. Maybe some are in some area in the world. They are not so concerned or don't have the time to support Gaza or Ukraine, you know. So we can also have a subgroup, you know, in the technical damage assessment, that some people, because we need people who have the time, and we can organize also specific meeting, you know, okay, let's say, okay, we want to support Gaza, we want to support Ukraine. So we can have some subgroup also. So I could maybe at the end, I will send an email and maybe find a way to collect the people interested, and then we can organize a separate meeting. So we stay to the webinar. So we will just select according to the topics. The resource, so we need you so please share with us any topics, any resource tools you have that we will approve through the committee before publish on the toolkit. Going back to here, thank you. Eba, you already shared. So please feel, we gave the last deadline because we want to close this survey, but by next Wednesday, then we can have a more answer to see if there is a difference in our interest. Just a last reminder, as I do always, it's very important for us if you can really, if you didn't create an account already, you can create an account even with your personal email, because we know the situation is very difficult and we don't know in 6 months where we will be. You can create just an account on the Global Shelter Cluster with your personal email, and then you can follow the technical community of practice, because it's really, it is us the way to communicate, because we can create a news and you will receive it automatically. And the best option is really to create an account and then to follow up, because you can follow without an account. But the problem, we cannot see you directly, on the website, who are the member. If you check now on the T.Sub-CoP, you will see 51 members, but we have 121. So please, you can do that. And also, when you have created your account, you can follow the technical toolkit. So when we will publish documents related not only to the damage assessment, but the 7 thematics, because it's just 1 page for the technical COP, you will also receive updates. Any other business? I don't know, we have 5 minutes less. So I don't know if someone have a last question, comment, suggestion. Over to you. Yeah, Xavier. Hello, Xavier. We don't hear you. No. We don't hear you, Xavier. You have a problem? No. Xavier. Connection problem. To answer to Tom on the chat, okay, so the recording, okay, I would just need Dave, could you please cut your mic? Thank you. The recording will be shared very soon. Give me some time because I need a bit to edit and to cut, the beginning. So, and I will prepare also a meeting notes of what have been said. So let's say by next week, we are Thursday. So by the beginning of next week, it will be published. And you can, for sure, you can share to anybody. So you can share it. Please share the link of the technical COP page, and you can share again, if I'm coming back to the most important link here on the left, you can share directly. You can see technical committee of practice and the link below damage assessment. So that's the sub page of the technical committee of practice. So the webinar recording is published, is shown on the damage assessment T.Sub-CoP. Okay. So I think Xavier couldn't join. So I think we can conclude. So I would like to thank you very much. As we know, damage assessment is very challenging. There's a lot of topics to cover. We are trying our best. We will do quarterly meetings, so we will try to cover by priority according the survey results. I will inform also, contact everybody to see if there is some specific interest by person to create a subgroup for Gaza and subgroup for Ukraine, and if there is other countries. So please do not hesitate to share it. It's why also I'm asking you, I'm recommending you to subscribe with an account, because we can create discussion threads. So any one of you can ask a question on the discussion threads that everybody will receive. So it's also a way of communicating. We were maybe thinking, I will discuss also with the committee, if we should maybe create also a WhatsApp group. As you know, we have hundreds of WhatsApp group. There is a lot. So let's see. That's also maybe a way we can create under the main global shelter WhatsApp group, where there is a humanitarian shelter. We could also create a damage assessment group that everybody can exchange directly. I know I saw in a humanitarian shelter group, there is a lot of exchange, but it's speaking about all the subjects. So I'm not sure. I will maybe ask also you feedback if we should create another group. But we can have a specific damage assessment, and then it will be more easy when we speak about damage assessment. We can communicate through the group. So thank you very much. I would like to thank you also, my colleague from the committee. If someone of you are sometime or so and will be also interested to join the committee, you are more than welcome. Just send a short email, say the reason why you would like to join the committee and you added value. That's a bit the process, because the more we are, more it's easier also to coordinate. So thank you very much for your time, and we will keep you informed for the next webinar. And I wish you a nice evening or nice morning or afternoon, depending where you are in the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pascal.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks a lot. Interesting meeting. Cheers.
Many thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you. Bye.